Alright, I'm going to go ahead and talk you through how to thread the buttonhole machine. It can come across as very intimidating, especially since there's a lot of stuff that's not very intuitive. So first I'm going to start with the lower looper, which is this thread right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. It's in the tension disc right now, so it's pretty tight. Okay. So first thing, you're going to take your thread up. You're going to go through this hole right here, and then you're going to trace it down to this point, and then it goes through the hole, down, and then it's going to come in through the back side right here, pull it through. You're going to twist it around over the top, back through that second hole, so it creates a little loop. Okay. Next, you're going to send this down the shaft farthest on the left, and this is where you're going to take some canned air and you're going to shoot it down the shaft. You're not necessarily going to need a ton, so I'm just going to get it fairly started, maybe just a little bit more. Okay. At this point, you're going to lift the machine and look underneath it, okay? So what you're going to do, and I might have to put my phone down to be able to heft this, but grab underneath, and once you hear that click, the machine, this little spring right here, which is the release as well, this clicks the machine into place and holds it up. You should have the machine off, by the way, as you're working on this. So, if you look back here, right there, that's where your thread's going to come out. And what you're going to do is once it comes out, you're going to catch it with your thread looper and pull it through an additional tube. You can kind of see that horizontal one behind this black piston. That's going to slide over, and that's going to pull, you can see the tube back there. It's going to pull, shoot it right there, and then we'll thread it through here. So first off, getting it down this shaft right here so that we can grab it. So I'm going to take my thread looper right here, and I'm going to, here, I'm going to wiggle it around. It's not focusing super well. Alright, wiggle around right there. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out a way to get this thing to focus where I want it to. Okay. So, I've got it into the tube. I'm starting to scoot it down. And I'm going to look around to the back, see when it pops through. Oh, you see right there? Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to take my canned air and I'm going to shoot some more thread down the shaft until it comes out and I can grab it down here where the thread looper is. Giving me a little bit of trouble. We'll kind of see. Oh, it popped through. Okay. There we go. Got our thread. We're just going to put it through this loop. Now it's hooked. And on this end, I'm going to go ahead and pull my looper back. And just because I want it to come out through here, I'm just going to twist this wire around. This is a lot easier with two hands, so don't stress about it too much. Okay. Alright, so I just put my wire through there. You can see it's going through the tube. So I'm just pulling my threader back. Oh, it got kind of looped around stuff funny. Okay. So I'm going to pull it back. And voila! There's our thread. Okay. So once you get it through to this point, you've got a nice little, oh, this diagram shows it going up, but it's pretty, this part's more intuitive. You're just going to take the thread and you're going to stick it down through this hole right here. Going to pull that through. Then you're going to go around the tension disc and you're going to go through this hole right here. Like I said, it's a lot easier when you're not trying to hold a phone in your hand and talk at the same time. Okay, so now we've got it through there. The next step is to take your thread from this point through this hole right here, and then right above it you can see, let's focus again, you can see right above this that there's a hole. So we're going to go ahead and send the thread up through there. You can do it with the canned air or you can try it with the threader, either one. Okay, that was something I couldn't do while holding my phone. So I'm just going to show you. You can see the thread going across right there, and then going through that and up the hole. So I use the canned air, and now I'm going to show you through here, but it comes out of the tube right back here. Okay. So you can't really see it too well, and my finger's blurring it, but you can kind of see the thread looping out just right around there. It just came out of the post that's right over here. And there's some different thread guides and a little pigtail right there that the thread's going to go through, so that's kind of your marking point visually. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and drop the machine and work from this top side. So in order to do that, I'm just going to push down on this clamp. I'm going to hold on to this in the meantime. Push on it until it clicks and lets it down. Okay, so I realized in that just previously I said to push, I actually meant to pull up. So you pull this lever up towards you. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take these out so that we can see what we're doing. So go ahead and do that carefully so you don't hit the needle. You're just going to pull them up and forward. Okay. So then gonna look down here, and right behind this pigtail is where the thread came out. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to pull it from the bottom up through this hole. We're going to go into the pigtail and then up through this hole. Okay, so let's try to focus in there. You can see the thread went up through the hole, went up through the pigtail, and then up through the other hole. So now there's a little hole right here that I'm going to pull it through, and then we're going to guide it up into this position right there. And I might have to pause again in order to do this. We'll see. We'll see if I can do it with the camera on. Got it. Got it up through there, and now the final step, and I'll need to clip the end of my thread because it's pretty frayed, but the final step is to take this and put it through the hole right there and then pull it out. And it'll go right between that little fork on top. Okay, so that's doing your lower looper thread. So, again, we start right here, and then we go down the tube, and then we connect it at this back joint. So you have the machine lifted, you connect it at that back joint to send it through the horizontal tube. Then you take it through some thread guides down to the tension disc, over, and then you go up the tube right here. Once it gets out of the tube right there, then you take it over and you pull it up through these three thread guides right here, and then you go through the hole right there and up through the hole on the bottom side of this little prong right here, and then it goes through this little fork right there. Okay, so it seems complicated, and it is. So generally, obviously, this is a last resort. If you're not able to just cut the thread, tie it on, and then just pull it through the machine, if it breaks for whatever reason, that's how you thread it, start to finish. And then, really quick, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the GIMP. It's a lot simpler, thankfully, but I'm going to leave it threaded in this case. I think I can show it visually a little bit better. But it goes up through the middle hole right here, and then it's going to go down. It just goes through one hole right here. And right here, it just goes through one hole. It doesn't wrap around the... Oops, sorry. It goes through this post right here, and it only goes through one hole. It doesn't, like, wrap around the pole. Then it goes down, and you put it into this tube, and you're going to blow it with canned air. And then it comes out. It also has a horizontal tube. So if you look here, it comes down, you want to lift the machine, goes through horizontal tube right here. And then from that point on, it's pretty simple. All you do is you take it from, you can see the tube coming out right here, which makes it really easy. So you take the thread right here, you pull it through this loop right here, and then you pull it around to the back side right here. Okay. And so then it just goes up through this little hole right here. You pull it up, and then there's another hole right here. That's behind the knife, you can't see it, but my tweezers are pointing at it. It goes through this hole, goes through this hole, and then you're done. So, let me show you really quick what it looks like from the underside, that part. Okay. So, oh wait, that's right. This one, sorry. So this one you can see there's the tube it comes out of, and then it goes up into this post, right? Back, at the very back of the machine, you can kind of see the shadow of a thread going from the upper left corner down to the lower left, or lower right. And that's the GIMP thread coming through, and it's going through a tension disc right at the very back. Do you see that? So you just pull it through that hole, through the tension disc, and then you pull it through, and you'd use a threader for this. Pull it through the tube, and then all those final steps that I just showed you. Okay, and then for the upper thread, this is a lot easier because you can see everything. But you go through here, down through here, and then you do loop this, so you go forward, around to the back, and then forward again, just like you do on the lower looper. And then you come forward, go through this hole, go through this tension disc, around this post, around this tension disc, through the hole here, through the thread guide here, hole here. Then you're going to go up through this pink hole, and then use canned air or the threader to push it down through this post. And it's going to pop out right over here. And you can see there's a little plate right here. You're going to slide it into this plate like that. Go down, and then from the back of the needle to the front. Although the front of the needle is actually facing the back of the machine, where the thread comes through. So this is technically the front side of the needle that's facing towards the back. So that comes through, and then it hangs down. Give yourself like a couple inches of a tail for all of these, and then do a test run of sewing first. The reason I'm rethreading the machine right now is because I had a thread spool on here that had a nick on it. So this, I had the spool flipped upside down, and it had, or right side up I should say, because this is upside down now, but there was a nick in it that the thread was catching on, and so it was breaking the thread. So make sure you pay attention if you're using one of these store-bought like Joanne type spools or whatever. Just make sure that this part is all smooth and that the thread pulls off easily. These are obviously preferred. This is a GIMP, so it's heavier. A side note on the GIMP really quick too is that if you're using regular GIMP, then you thread it the exact same way I told you. If you're using normal thread and not GIMP, so it's not thicker, on this plate right here, you'll see that there's this little plate right there. It's a tension disc. So if you have thread that's not GIMP, it needs to go under that little tension plate right there. I'm going to go from this side so you can see it a little bit better. So if you're using just regular thread, you would push it, you'd go through this hole, then you'd go behind this plate, and then through this hole. So that's for the GIMP. Okay, I know it's complicated, but like I said, for the most part, you shouldn't have to thread it start to finish. You should be able to just cut your threads at the base and pull them through. So just make sure you tie good knots that won't come undone. Test them out before you pull it through, and you should be fine. But if you need to thread it, hopefully this video is helpful.